Let's try that again, shall we? Welcome to Coding with Jess, where you get to code along with me while I build a thing. And it would be helpful if I had like a microphone on, right? That would help you hear me and the things that I'm saying. Yeah, so welcome. Apologize for the first few minutes of the stream. And yeah, so if this is your first time joining me, what we're going to do for the next 2 hours is I'm going to do 4 25-minute work blocks coding on a particular project that we're going to get into in just a second. So yeah, it's going to be about 2 hours of work. Every 25 minutes, there'll be a 5-minute break, or take a break, walk away, come back, and we'll work in pomodoros. And the other thing to note is if you're quite low, okay, so the mic is low. Let me see. Yep, that would be because I didn't plug it in. Take 3. How are we now? Stephen, thank you for your feedback in the YouTube chat. All right, I'm gonna go from the top one more time. Welcome to Coding with Jess, where you get to code along with me while I build a thing. Today we're going to be working for 2 hours, a live coding session on a thing called the WebNative template app. And one of the things I was going to say is that I do watch the YouTube chat. And so if you're hanging out and want to chat, I'll glance over there from time to time and say hi or respond. And graciously, Stephen commented on my lack of microphone, complete lack, and then I had the wrong one selected. So anyway, we've had enough comedy of errors this morning. How about let's actually get to what we're going to work on today. Okay, so the last few weeks, I guess it's been about several months now, I've been working on a project called Mumbler. And Mumbler is built on top of a framework called WebNative. Framework's not quite the right word. Library is probably the better word for WebNative. It's a library that wraps up a couple of different decentralized protocols, one of them being UCANs, and then the WebNative file system is another part of the WebNative library. And so I've been building this Mumbler decentralized blogging application on top of the WebNative SDK. So let's check this out. So it's by a group called Fission that I work for right now, doing applied research. And as I've been building on top of the WebNative SDK, my quest has been to understand what are the differences between building a sort of traditional client server, what some people are starting to call Web 2 application, and then building a decentralized Web 3 application. Now, obviously, Fission and the WebNative SDK is not the only way to build decentralized applications. It is one of many. We think it's a pretty good one, but there are certain patterns that come out when you're building a decentralized application that are sort of true of most or all decentralized applications. So as I've been building Mumbler, I've been learning about WebNative. I've gotten deeper into the way that WebNative works. And last week, we actually started on a project called the WebNative app template. And the WebNative app template is designed to get you up and running in WebNative really quickly. So taking some of the lessons that we've learned in building Mumbler and building other applications on top of WebNative, as well as some improvements that we've recently made to WebNative that allow it to be more decoupled from some of the Fission specific things that we have built into WebNative. So the WebNative app template makes it really quick to get started. And so today I'm going to be continuing to work on the WebNative app template. And then what we'll do is once we finish the WebNative app template, I'll actually port Mumbler to the WebNative app template, which will give me some nice features that I'll get from Mumbler. So anyway, so we are now in week 2 of working on the WebNative app template. I've done some work on it since last week, since we chatted. But let's go ahead and dive right in. And again, if you're joining me for the first time, we work in 25-minute pomodoros here. So go ahead and start up our first 25-minute work block. Bingo, and we will jump right in. At the end of that, we'll take a 5-minute break. All right, so let's go ahead and cd into document WebNative app template. Let me make sure I pull down the most recent stuff. Cool, we're already on a branch, and I'll talk a little bit about the work that we're doing. We actually have I don't think we have an open PR yet. We probably should go ahead and open one. And I'm actually going to bump up my font sizes a little bit today. I was talking to John Borchewski yesterday, who tuned in for last week's live stream, and he was describing how he had tuned in from his bed while watching it on his phone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if you're doing that, I probably need slightly larger fonts to make it a little bit easier for you to follow along. So we'll go with some slightly larger fonts today, in case you're also watching from your phone, or if, John, you're watching, you're welcome. So the PR that we're working on right now is not open. So let's go ahead and open a work in progress PR. I did push the branch up. Yes, I did. Compared to that. Great. There's a little bit of code here, which I'll talk you through in just a second. Okay, but let's talk about what this PR is supposed to do, and then I'll get to the code changes, because they'll make things make it more interesting. And actually, what I'm going to do is go ahead and create the PR, and then we can write some of this some of this up here at the top. Yeah, get registration working. That's a reasonable description. Okay, so let me open Figma that has our mockup, and I'll show you the current status of the application, as well as where we're going. So we already have WebNative app template.vision.app, and that is linked from the top of the GitHub repo. If you found the GitHub repo, if you're looking for the GitHub repo, fortunately I can't paste the link into YouTube chat because links. But you can go to my Twitter, and I have a link to the repo, I think, right after the tweet announcing that this went live. If not, I'm going to go drop it right now. Let's see. Let's see. Here we go. Here's the repo we're working on today. Actually, I'm going to go link straight to the PR since I've already created it. Oh, I haven't created it yet. Let's go ahead and create as working. This is a draft pull request. It's not ready to be reviewed yet. Go ahead and grab that. It's the PR we're working on today. Paste that in. So you can now find that via Twitter if you want a direct link over to this that we're working on. What's going on there? Oh, Figma's griping at me. We'll install that on next launch. All right. So you can find at the top of the WebNative app template over here, you can find a link to the current app. It is right here with this musical icon of the fave icon. We're actually going to switch that out and get a better one. But anyway, you can see up here we have in the top right, we have a connect button. We have a hamburger menu that doesn't do anything, and then we have this very generic application interface in the middle. Let's make this thing bigger too. I'll click connect up here in the top right. That'll bring up this modal right here. You have two options: creating a new account, and I have an existing account. We're currently working on the create a new account path. What we have working so far is you click on it, and then you can type in a username like this. You can also, it also lets you know if certain usernames are not available, like skins, skin1, skins20 is available, 21 is not. And so we on the most recent work, we just got the debounce working around that. We have this is a shared computer, which I actually need to make it show an error message. So let's go note that. Show error message when clicking. This is a shared computer. And I'll take you through the mockups in just a second. I know the mockups really well, so I know that should be there, and it's not. But once I type in a username, we'll just do jmark1. I can click register. That then is successful. So we don't have a advance to the next screen. So what we're working on right now is clicking register when it works, which I should have pulled up here we go. Yeah, we don't even have a console log statement yet. When you pull up once you've registered, it should take you to the next stage in the thing. And so let's go look at the Figma to see what that is. All right, so down here, we have the desktop version of this. You guys have just seen create a new account. Switch over to comment mode in case I need to leave anything. Choose a username. There's this is a shared computer. We'll look at that in just a second. I'm going to choose a username. Ooh, another thing we're going to want to do is add the spinner when add spinner when checking for username. So we'll add that in, and then the username is available. Also, we need to add a little green check in the inside the input when username is available. There's also a red X inside the input when username is not available. So these are just like a lot of little cleanup stuff that we're going to work on today. And then finally, once you have successfully completed it, you'll get redirected to this screen. So then once or when registration is successful, redirect to welcome screen. All right, cool. So we'll start there, see how quickly we can get through these. Some of these might be a little bit annoying, but we have a lot of the foundation laid already for this work, and then we'll see where we go next. All right, so I mentioned a couple things. This is a shared computer. Again, this is a Svelte, TypeScript, Daisy UI, Tailwind project. So we got a bunch of different technologies we're working on. We're inside the register component, which is on the register page. So if you noticed up here, there's a /register. I'm going to go ahead and start the server, npm run dev, open another tab as well for any commands I need to issue through there. All right, localhost 5137, let's open that up. We'll go to /register. All right, great. Now there was an issue registering your account. Cool. The reason it says there's an issue is that we have things split up, kind of the way we're organizing the source here. We've got all the components inside a components directory with auth containing sort of all the auth related workflow ones. And then we have a lib directory that has a common, and in that common we've got a WebNative utility library wrapper thing. And the thinking here is that we want to do all of the WebNative specific things inside of this lib file as opposed to in the component directly. And then we can export functions that sort of wrap the WebNative functionality and then execute those inside the component. All right, so then right now we have this export const register, which is getting called when register is clicked, const register user. And so here it is, this register right here is getting imported from libcommon webnative. So we'll jump back over to libcommon webnative, and you can see that we're returning success. I thought I was returning false there. Interesting. Oh, in the chat, someone asked what Pomodoro app I'm using. I'm actually using one called Tomato 2 by my friend Wojto Renick. I've been using it for years. It's really, really simple. A lot of Pomodoro apps try to do too much. I also sometimes, when I'm not coding, or when I'm not coding online or sharing online, I'll just use a Pomodoro timer, physical timer that I have on my desk. That one's like $8 on Amazon. All right, so I thought I was returning false always here, and that was why we were seeing this error, because this should not say there was an issue registering. Yeah, you're welcome, man. Absolutely. Yeah, check out Tomato actually, I think, does he even have a website for it anymore? You might just have to search for it in the App Store. There it is, tomato2.app. Cool. He does have his own, he used to have a splash page for it, and I didn't know if he had it. Yeah, so tomato2.app. Definitely really great timer. And Wojto's done a lot of other great work too. He's awesome. Let's see. So there was an issue registering your account. Let's pop up our console right here. Let's start with register. In register, we're starting here. Oh, I know where it is. Down here. On click register user, I have there it is right there. Okay, cool. So we are conditionally showing a registration success label and span when registration has failed. So this is actually the registration failure message. And so what I had here was this needs to be if not registration success. There it goes away. And then if I register another one, JMark2, and click register. Oh, interesting. Registration success was false. Okay, cool. There was something wrong there, which that is good to know. Maybe I already registered JMark2. JMark2 is available. No? Okay. Cool. But at least we're getting an actual error message now. So the WebNative account register piece right here is actually calling and hitting the Vision staging servers when it's trying to set up that account. Eventually, we're going to have this completely decoupled from Vision's account creation and account management system, and that's one of the upcoming changes to WebNative that we're about to roll out. We don't have that in yet, so I'm a little bit surprised to see a failure here. Let me go ahead and just try a different one. JMark3 is available. Let me click register. Registration success is false again. Interesting. Did we get a registration success true? No, I just haven't clicked it yet. Okay, maybe no, we know that the username is valid because we're actually calling username valid on WebNative as well. So I'm not sure why that's failing. Let me see. So right up here we have our endpoints, runvision.net and visionuser.net. These are the staging endpoints that we've been using with testing. One thing we could do is test out in our, can't remember if I've got this wired up on staging yet. I don't. Okay, it doesn't do anything on staging. Register, register, register. Nothing. Okay, so that's not it. We were working on this yesterday. We were actually seeing a registration success come through. All right, tell you what, none of the things that we're working on right now, this is why it's good to write a list. None of these things require registration to work yet, and that's not an area that I know a lot about yet. I'm just starting to understand sort of our staging server setup and that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and complete these tasks, and then the last task is when registration succeeds, let's redirect to the welcome screen, so then we can dig in and see what's going on there, but we can make some progress in the meantime. Okay, so let me back up. If I go back here, create a new account. When I get to this screen, everything should be like reset, which is good. We don't have the username typed in. The error messages are gone. That looks good. If I go back through it, cool. Just kind of thinking about how this all works. All right. So then the first one we had on the list was show an error message when clicking this is a shared computer. Let's jump over to the Figma and see what that error message should look like. Let's see, I know it's right up here in the top. There it is. All right, make sure this. Okay, decided to add this checkbox in as a means of dissuading people from creating accounts on a shared computer. Copy still needs work. Need to consider how a shared family computer fits into this. Yep. Okay, something we've been talking about. And for those of you who it's not obvious why you wouldn't want to create, why it would be a security problem to create it on a shared computer, it's because we're using passwordless auth. In other words, we're key-based authentication, so that when you click register, it's creating a secure key and storing it in your browser's IndexedDB secure enclave. And then when you try to connect to other applications, it checks to see if you have that key. And so there's not really a good way to log out of an application or share or like swap keys out. So key management is kind of like one of the big open problems of decentralized application development. So something we'll need to figure out. So for now, what we're thinking is we'll just dissuade people from creating accounts on shared computers. And once that key management problem is clearer how to solve it, then we will hopefully be able to add that in. All right, so I've copied that text. We have all of these. These are each of the error messages that we're currently using. We're going to need another if block. Actually, we don't. We can have it conditionally visible based on whether the checkbox is set or not. I'm trying to remember. So the modals in Yeah, this checked. Cool. Yeah, so we can use CSS for this, which is pretty wild. We can use a selector and to identify whether that checkbox is clicked, and then show the label conditionally if it is not clicked. Anyway, or show it if it is clicked, sorry. All right, this template is getting pretty nasty. I'm thinking I might start adding some warning when shared computer is checked. Thinking I might start adding some of these comments here to make it easier to browse the source code. Error when registration fails. And this is a info text. It's both. This is both error states and this is working. So status of username. There we go. Cool. Valid, available, etc. Okay, cool. All right, so this is a warning when the shared computer is checked. What we'll do is this will be labeled for registration. Yep, it is an error text. It should be text left. The text of it is in my clipboard. Go ahead and grab that. Paste it there. Doesn't support shared computers at this time. I don't think we need to say this moment in time. Probably a little overkill. Okay, let's go back and see if that should appear. Great. And I think he has it appearing below, yeah, below the checkbox. So let's go ahead and move that down to below this checkbox. It actually might, well, that looks pretty good. I was gonna say it might need to be in that div, but all right, swap back out to this mode. The spacing here. The red is the wrong red. The font size is about right. That was close enough to my eye. We did notice earlier, or yesterday, greens and reds for success and failure are the wrong color. So we'll need to override that feature of Daisy UI, which we can do that pretty easily. We've got some pretty simple override type stuff going on. Okay, so now this is a shared computer. Now we need to make it only visible when this is checked. And like I mentioned, we can actually do this with pure CSS, which is pretty cool. So the way that we'll do that is we'll come over here into VS Code. Since we're using Tailwind, we get all these nice little utility classes. And so what we can do, oh, wait. This one will have to be handled a little bit differently because we need the style to be when a different checkbox is checked. Let's see, how do they do this with the modal? I have this class Modal Toggle. Let's see, let's inspect the source here, jump into the modal, and see how this Modal Toggle thing works. Yeah, there it is. When Modal Toggle is checked, and that plus means immediately followed by. So the way that this is, see how these two things are like right after each other in the source. This says has a immediate neighbor, or probably the very next HTML element is modal, then set the visibility to visible. It's pretty cool. So we can definitely do that as well, but I don't think we're going to be able to do that in that kind of complex class. I don't believe is supported in as like a Tailwind add-on. Like, how would I tell this label to be visible whenever the checkbox is checked? I don't think that's going to work. Let's see. Let's see. Peer checked. Ooh. Is that a Tailwind thing? Cool. Let me see then. Oh, but it's not exactly a straight peer, unfortunately, because the input box is inside, or the checkbox itself is inside the div. We could rearrange the order of our HTML. We have another label here that's the label to the right of this. And so we're not going to be able to have the label be an immediate peer. Interesting. I'm still pretty sure I can write a selector to do this. So let's think about it. By the way, that's my son Wells, letting us all know that he has big plans. He's 4 years old, and he comes and writes that on my whiteboard regularly. Where's my markers? Markers. Down here. And also sometimes he runs off with the markers. So yeah, we have like a div here. We've got an input checkbox here. We've got a label here. And then this div ends /div. And then we've got our label here with the error message. And what we want to do is show this label when this is checked. So we could, I think, the peer check things. Let's look at peer checked real quick and just see what I think what that's going to mean is that this label would need to move up here and be a peer to this guy. But let's see. Jump back over here. Peer checked. Let's find out if that's a Tailwind thing or a click label to choose radio button. Peer class. You can add peer behavior by adding 2 classes to the HTML. Add the peer class to the HTML tag you want to observe the state for. Oh, awesome. Okay, so yeah, attention core, you were exactly right. It is definitely peer and peer checked. I should have just Googled it to begin with instead of drawing on my whiteboard. All right, so I believe if I'm reading that documentation, or that, not documentation, those 2 very brief sentences, then I should be able to do peer here, and then peer checked down here. These Tailwind people, they've thought of everything. So when peer checked, then I want to show, I think it was visible. And then let me see how they handled it over here. Whoop. Get out of my way there. Yeah, visibility visible. And so then we want this to default to not display none. Invisible? Can't remember what the opposite of, maybe it is invisible. We'll see. Okay, so let's jump over here. It is currently invisible. Oh, but it's in the freaking CSS. It's taking up space in the layout. But when I click this, oh, bummer. Doesn't quite work yet. Okay, let me see. How might this work? Does it have inspect? There's peer. We have peer checked. Ah, okay. Well, let's see. What I really want is like a display none here, as opposed to a peer display none. Yeah, because I don't want it to take up any space in the layout. Nope. We have hit our first Pomodoro break. It's hidden. Is that what it is? Okay, let me try that really fast. Let's see if we can figure this out, and then we'll give ourselves 5 more minutes, and then we'll see if we can figure this out, and then we will take a break. All right, hidden, that looks better. Peer checked isn't working yet. Peer checked. So let's read the Tailwind docs. I'm reading this like article about the Tailwind docs. So that's Stack Overflow. Just show me the docs, man. Give me the docs. Maybe this links to it. Sometimes they'll link straight to the Tailwind's peer class is a modern way to solve this. You can add peer behavior by adding 2 classes to the HTML. That's what I did. Detailed example here. It's linking to the blog post that I've already. Surprised that here we go. Site Tailwind. Actually, do a site search. Whoops. Site colon Tailwind CSS. Boom. Here. All right. Cool. Here's the peer modifier. All right. When you need to style an element based on the state of a sibling, it has to be a sibling. So we do have to reorder this, I think. Yep. That is so we that actually makes a lot more sense. It's important to note that the peer marker can only be used on previous siblings because of how the general sibling combinator works. So it won't work, only previous siblings can be marked. Is it all previous siblings though? Because if that's the case, we can probably get rid of that wrapper div that we have around. Although we'll have to figure out another way to style this up, because the div that we're using right here is to create consistent spacing underneath this checkbox. Oh, but we could just throw this label into the, yeah, probably throw this into the div like we just mentioned. We may have to change some spacing, but that should probably work. All right, let's see if it's all previous divs, and then we can actually go read the CSS spec, and we should also take a break. It doesn't work. Bummer. I wonder if I can reverse the order of those labels. Wait, what? Oh, I didn't copy the wrong thing. Or I didn't copy enough. There we go. All right, now I just want to see it work. And then, there we go. Doggone it. It's still not working. All right, we'll tell you what. We should take a break. I will take my first Pomodoro break now and be back in 5 minutes. And when I'm back, we'll take a look at that and see why that peer thing is not working. So see you in 5 minutes. All right, welcome back to Coding with Jess. We just finished our first Pomodoro and first Pomodoro break. So we're about to jump into Pomodoro number 2 of 4, which means we have about 90 minutes left in this coding session. So we're in the middle of working on the WebNative app template, which is a template application for working with the WebNative library. And we're just doing some minor like styling stuff and working with Tailwind, Daisy UI to kind of match our mockups. And right before the break, we were looking at Tailwind's Tailwind's peer and peer checked functionality to be able to show this little error message when a checkbox is checked. So let's go ahead and start our next work block, 25 minutes on the clock. At the end of this 25 minutes, we'll take another 5-minute break. Let's jump in. Okay, so I got this working because after I took my break, it was still on my mind, and I figured out in my brain as I was taking a break what the problem was, and came and tested it out. Sure enough, it's working, which is awesome. So let me show you what the problem was. We'll jump in here. Basically, I had been using hidden and peer checked visible, which visibility and display are two different things in CSS. They accomplish similar, but not exactly the same thing. I need the label to not be taking up any space in the layout at all, which that's a display none. Display none in Tailwind is called hidden. You can mouse over that to like see the style there. But I had been using visibility visible or whatever as the peer checked statement, and that doesn't have it, like those two things are orthogonal in CSS. They're not related to each other. So I had to set the display to something other than none. By default, labels are display block, maybe inline block. I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter. In this case, we do want it to be display block because we want it to wrap around to the next line. So changing this to peer checked block actually gives you the correct result. The one thing I don't love is that it does cause the checkbox to pop out from underneath the person's cursor when they're clicking it. That's not usually great. You usually don't want buttons that people are clicking to jump around in response to people clicking on them. Let me see what it looks like without that. Yeah, I don't think it's really something we can change right now. We could, yeah, there's some ways that we could do it that would be kind of hacky, and I'm not going to worry about it too much, but I don't like the way that feels. I noticed that that's also what's happening when you're typing in here, but because your cursor, your mouse is not over the top of the button when you're typing, you don't notice it as much, even though it's definitely doing exactly the same thing. Okay, cool. Well, we've got the first thing working in our checklist, which was show the error message when clicking this is a shared computer. So let's move on to the next one. Add the spinner. When checking. Okay, let's see. So right now, what we have happening with when we're checking the username is there's actually some pretty sophisticated logic going on to ensure that we get the right answer back. When Brian and I first started working on this, we were getting some really weird, inconsistent behavior when checking for all these characters. So you can see down here that SG, SGI, SGIN, SGINS, we're checking for each one of those characters to see if it's available. But if you're still typing, we're going to fire off like 5 requests right in a row to the API to find out whether those are available. And the problem is they were coming back out of order. The responses were coming back out of order, and we were getting just weird asynchronous problems. And so we needed to add some code to do what's called debouncing, which basically waits a certain amount of time from the last time that the person types and before it sends it. Currently, where our debouncing is set to 300 milliseconds, so you get a tiny bit of delay when you're typing, going from red to green. I think the delay is acceptable, but in order to make the delay a little bit more palatable, we're going to need to throw a spinner in here. We tried less than 300 milliseconds of debouncing, and according to Brian anyway, 200 milliseconds, you still got some occasional errors, and that just didn't seem like a good thing. Like instead of having incorrect results come back, let's have always correct results come back, but take just a little bit longer to get them. So in that vein, let's see if we can make a spinner So the spinner is, whoops, undo that. Really? Can't undo sliding that around? Sorry, Ryan, didn't mean to move your comment around. All right, let's see. There's our spinner right there. And let's see where that, okay, here's the dark and light mode version of the spinner. I wish I had Ryan here to ask him, because the elements here are kind of strange. So I'm getting, I think, well, let's go see if Daisy UI has a spinner before I go all the way down this path of like making my own. I'm already thinking about SVGs and using rotation and all the things. But maybe Daisy UI already has a spinner. Let's see. What are the thingies? Actually, what would be really cool is if it had a spinner that was already tied to an input box that I could just add in whenever things are being checked. It doesn't look like it. These are the different input styles right here. I don't see anything. It says loading. Oh, and how would it know? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Never mind. Having a spinner there doesn't make any sense. And indicator? What's an indicator? Oh, okay. Gotcha. Like a unread notification blip thing. Hero, input group, mask, stack. We're definitely going to be using these toasts later, but not right now. All right. It looks like we're going to make our own spinner. Cool. I don't mind. They do have progress bars, but that's not... Oh, that's kind of cool. It's kind of a cool... Oh, radial progress. That might actually be it. Oh, these are like charts. That is cool, but that's not it, what we're looking for. Let me click through these real quick. Countdown. Seriously? A countdown? Wow. Daisy UI's got some fun stuff in it. KBD for keyboard shortcuts. That's pretty cool. Huh. I've never really looked at like some of these things they have in here. Stats. Definitely useful for making dashboards. I used to make this style of CSS thing all the time when I was making custom dashboards, especially when I worked at my last startup and I built a bunch of custom dashboards for the company so that we would have basically eyes on the key metrics. Okay, cool. I'm satisfied that they do not have what we're looking for, and that is all right. Oh my gosh, do they have styled checkboxes? Oh, goodness. I just made one of these. That's funny. Interesting. So yeah, if you guys were joining us last week, we actually made a custom checkbox. I am definitely going to rip out all the code that I used and just use their checkbox because I don't want to maintain. Theirs is probably much better tested, cross-browser, and all of the things. So like, let's use theirs. So I guess it was good that we spent some time digging around in there. Let's see, where are my checkbox things? Here we go. So I think I can delete most of this. Okay, you know what? Let's do the spinner first, and then we'll switch to using Daisy UI's checkbox. Don't know why I didn't think to check for that before I went all this path of like making one. But I learned some important stuff that I think we're about to use, which is I think we're going to do, the way that I think we're going to solve this is using some before content to throw, or an after, either way you think about it, to insert some stuff in the HTML that we then can show or hide. Do we need to do it that way? Can we just throw it in the HTML to begin with? Yeah, we can probably just throw it in and then hide or show it based on what's happening. Interesting. We're gonna need. All right, let's get a something showing, and then we'll make it animated and all the other stuff. Let's just get something showing and in the right spot. So let's find in the HTML here. Where's our input? Here it is. So we want. This is probably gonna be like a span class. Set the background to red something. So there's a big red block. Let's give it width of, say, 3 and height of 3, and that should give us something to go off of. Oh, the span's going to need something in it, unless we do a display block. There we go. Cool. So now we got our little red block. I'm going to try and get it moved up here into this top right-hand corner. The way to do that is usually to absolute position based on a containing element. So I may need to wrap this in a relative container. Oops. There might be a better way to drop that in there, and then we could say absolute top 1, right 1. There we go. Cool. Now we've got it inside here. Again, there might be a better way to do the positioning, but this will allow us to kind of make progress on it without getting blocked searching on all those things. All right. All right, there we go. Cool. All right, so there's our thing that is going to spin. I kind of want to like CSS it to spin right now. I wonder if they have animate spin. Yes, they do, of course. There we go. There's our little spinner. So now we need to show and hide it appropriately. That we're actually going to have to create a new variable for that we can key off of in the layout. So if you noticed, we have these nice little if blocks that Svelte provides for us that allows us to conditionally add some layout. So we're going to want to do a similar if here of if checking username, then do this. Oh, I forgot the if. Wait. If checking username, do that. All right. And now we need something called checking username. Let's say let checking username equal false. And then what we'll want to do is in this function right here, the check username async function. It's going to be interesting. If username is valid, and username is available. So when this asynchronous function is called, we want to set checking username to true. And once we get back a response, okay, let's try this. I think this first most naive thing is not going to work because of the way async await works, but let's see. So we'll say check username equals true at the beginning here. Oh, sorry, checking. And then at the end, checking username is false because we've gotten a response back. And I think that's not going to work. Well, maybe the naive thing does work. Okay, so when it's invalid, it doesn't take any time at all. It just hits the library. It's only when it's hitting the server that it comes up. It's not bad, actually. Okay, so our most naive implementation here works fine, which is cool. Okay, so then now we need to make this thing be an actual spinner as opposed to a crazy thing. Now we got two ways that we could handle this. One is I could try to make like a CSS shape. Another would be making this an SVG. Um, mm, think I can do this in CSS using rounded corners, borders, and all right, let me do a real quick search. Semicircle, CSS, radius. Oh, let's see semicircle. I think you can do this because you can set different. Oh my gosh, how long is this? This should be tiny. Yeah, okay. So you can set a individual. Yeah, there we go. Border radius. Sorry, you can set individual borders like that. Perfect. What in the world is this website? It's obnoxious. So I think we can do this, and then we will need to set the border style. Yeah, this will totally work, I think. Totally, I think. So let's see. We'll leave the width 5, height 5, border radius, our border top 2, actually 4. That gives me 4 pixels. What does 6 give me? Or 8. Yeah, let's try that. I think this needs to be width 16, height 16. Or no, it needs to be 16 pixels. What was 5? There we go. Width 4, height 4, and then we'll do border left 8 as well. And then our border style is going to be, just go with that. And background does not have a color. We need a border width of like border width. Maybe it's DW. Nope. Border. Goodness. Those are all the colors. Have different colors per every side. Wow. Border opacity. All right, me. Border width, Tailwind. There we go. Oh, I've already got the border width. It's that 8 right there. No. Oh, okay. So I actually don't want that. I want like maybe a 2 pixel border, and I want a border radius. Maybe it's BR. Let's see. Border radius, rounded, large. But I want to round on different sides. There we go. Okay, cool. So I can do rounded, large, and then I could do rounded, rounded right or bottom, none, rounded top, or sorry, left or right, none. Okay, let's see what we got so far. No, not there at all. What did I change? Background. Okay, where are you at? Did it move or something? I said top right, animate, block, absolute. Oh, if checking username, duh. Let's just do if not checking username. All right, we're getting there. Cool. So let me cut out the background. That is interesting. Let's turn off animate spin real quick and see what we actually have here. So we're getting rounded bottom none, left none. I want to do border left. Oh, border right. Okay. Wait. Okay. So what I'm saying is I want to round the top and the left corners. Maybe I just want to round the whole thing. There we go. Why do we get that weird fadey thing? Border left. Let me try border bottom 0, but that shouldn't. No, it's still getting that weird. Doesn't look awful, actually. Spin, animate, spin. Actually, it looks kind of cool. Are the widths? The width is 16 pixels. Border width is 2, and you get an 8 pixel rounded radius. That should do it. That should be like a perfect circle. Attention, of course, says border L, not border left. Yeah. Oh, border L. Oh, yes. There we go. Okay. Good catch. This is why pair programming is awesome. Interesting. It's like I want it to not fade when it doesn't have. I wonder if there's a way to do that. CSS border hard cutoff, not fade. Border collapse. What does border collapse do? I don't know that I've ever used that before. Yeah. Oh, that's a table thing. Yeah, I've definitely used that, but it's been a long time. Not for this purpose. Okay, so this doesn't, I think this looks cool. It's not exactly what Ryan intended, and we accomplish it without having to have an SVG, which is kind of cool. I can go ahead and make this top 4, right 4. I think that gets it closer to centered. Yep. And then animate spin, and then let's get the right color. What colors you got here? Slate 600. All right. You know, I think it looks good enough. Border slate 600. Yeah, that looks awesome. All right, cool. So now we're getting a nice little thing. I don't know. I really wish it were sharper, but I'm gonna leave it for now. I'll talk to Ryan about it and decide. We can decide whether we want to take the effort to make a an SVG there. Cool. So there's our behavior now. When you're checking for username, it comes up, goes away within 300 milliseconds of your last character being typed. So now you get a good indication that, like, hey, it's still checking for you. Skins 01, 02. Cool. Yeah, I think that experience feels pretty good. All right, we'll go over and click add spinner. At this point, we've been coding for about an hour, and I haven't checked in. Both these things seem like nice little small commits here. So we'll do a git add. And the two things, error messages on shared computer, spinner. Push that up. We're coming up on 1 minute left in our Pomodoro. Let's see if we can switch to Daisy UI's checkbox real quick. I think that's just going to involve deleting a bunch of stuff. So the current checkbox styles are here, which I think I can get rid of pretty much all of this. And just replace it with checkbox. And then there was some styles that we had to drop into global CSS. This and this. Delete those and then drop over here and hopefully it'll just work. Nice. It does. It still jumps out of your way, which is kind of annoying. It also looks a little big to me. All right. Pomodoro says, time for a break. Whoa. I'm still playing music through Spotify. Pause that. All right, cool. We are at the end of our second Pomodoro here. I'm going to take a 5-minute break and we'll be back for one more hour of working on styling up the WebNative app template. So we'll be back in 5 minutes. See you guys soon. All right, welcome back to Coding with Jess. We are now halfway through our coding session for the day. We've done 2 Pomodoros. We have 2 more ahead of us. And so let's dive right back in. So let me go ahead and start our next 25-minute work block. 25 minutes on the timer, and we'll take a break at the end. All right. So right before you guys took off, or right before I took off for a little break, we were working on this is a shared computer, this little checkbox to get that labeled pop up. And one of the things that I noticed was that Daisy UI had its own checkbox class, which I had made my own last week, 1 week ago. And I definitely want to use their built-in one. It has this nice little lift. Like, I don't know if you can see that on the, where the like checkbox like slides in. It's really well done. But more importantly, I want someone else maintaining all that code rather than me having to like custom write it and make sure it works across browsers and all that other stuff. Okay, so problem now though is that this label is not centered on here, and so we need some sort of vertical align middle or something along those lines. I can't remember what the correct voodoo is to do this. Let's see. Text top. Oh, this is the warning. Wait. No, this is the shared computer thing. So we need some form of alignment because the problem is, let's see. We do an inspect real quick. Computed layout. This div has padding at the top. Input here. I wonder if the inline grid thing is the problem. That says margin left 1, so that bumps it over a little bit from there. Let's try align, baseline. All the aligns, middle, top, text bottom. I would think align middle would do it. Gosh darn it. Vertically aligning, sorry, yeah, vertical alignment in CSS is still awful, awful, awful. Let's see. Oh, maybe I know what it is. Grid, inline, and then we had this as grid inline as well, I think. Grid 1. Oh, come on. I remember this incantation. I think if I do a git diff, I'll see inline dash grid align bottom. That can't be right, right? Inline grid. Okay. Align bottom. Now let's try that. There we go. Haha. Man, it does really feel like, yeah, voodoo incantations, just trying out different spells until it actually works. All right, so there we go. This is a shared computer. That pops up. Ooh, I want to highlight to do swap in application name for app name. All right, that's something we're gonna have to change eventually. All right, great. Now that we're using Daisy UI, let's go ahead and using their checkbox, we'll add this, remove custom checkbox code, use Daisy UI. Yay! Love deleting code. Nice. Okay. While I was on break, I also checked in on Discord and saw that there's a new version of our WebNative app template, or sorry, WebNative library that will actually allow us to successfully register, which is what we were hitting, the problem we were hitting with registration a second ago. So actually, before I do that, let's go over to our list in Bear, check off that, switch to Daisy UI. We want to add the green check when the username is available, red check, set the greens and reds, and then when registration is successful. Okay, so before we do this, install, what is it, WebNative Alpha 3, I believe what it's called. Boop. Alrighty. So let's finish up the work we were doing with the green check, red check, and the greens and reds, and then we will install the new version of WebNative. We'll have a successful registration, which we can then use to redirect to the welcome screen. So pretty cool. All right, let's see. What's the next thing? Should we do check, I guess? So skins, we would want a red X right now, and a username is available, check there. Do we have checkboxes as a sort of Daisy UI primitive? Let's see. Or should we use, I'm pretty sure they're manually creating that checkbox. Let's see. Let's see how they generate the checkbox for the brand new thing here. Background image. Holy smokes. Oh man. I'd love to steal that. So I think this code right here that we're looking at actually sets or draws a check mark, because you get these 45-degree angles. So they're using background image to draw a check mark. Nifty doodle. Let's see what it looks like in Figma real quick. So it's this tiny little check there. Maybe we'll just SVG this thing. Whoops, golly day. I keep grabbing these. Export to SVG. Let's see. Surprised that it didn't let me name it then. Oh, there's the icon. Solid icon SVG. Open that in code. Open. Turn word wrap on so we can see how long this thing is. Okay, so maybe we just grab this SVG and insert it in our. Surprised. Do I have another one of these open? Why did it close my register thing? Anyway. All right, so we're going to want to do something similar to what we did with the spinner. So if checking username, then show that. If username valid and username available, valid and username available, then check. And then we'll want to cause that to bump into the, to sit in the right spot again. Oh gosh, okay, so what's the way to do SVGs here? We could make a component for, and by the way, this input box that has a spinner and a check and an X is starting to feel like something we should extract into a component at some point. But right now we can leave it as it is. So I've got our icon here. Let's see if there's anything about using SVGs in Svelte. Image, there's image assets, upload all the icons. Icons can be dynamically loaded by front-end code on demand. No need to bundle them into the app code. Slow page load if there's a lot of new icons. Use something like Svelte icon or Svelte rollup plugin SVG to directly import each icon into code import home. Create a Svelte component that selects the right imported component or SVG string. Good grief, this is like an article in a Hacker News post. Building icons in the app is a better way from this analysis. What, I missed something? SVG icon. Is that actually a HTML element? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. All right, anybody watching got any opinions on this one? Let's see. So I think I'm just going to go with the simple thing to get started, which would be option 1 here. Put it in public assets icon and then copy it in using an image tag. That just feels wonky somehow. Let icons equals this. Display icon, that. Yeah, there we go. I know this is kind of horrible, but I'm kind of inclined to do this. And then, yeah, I think we're going to do that. And then we can figure out what the right way to do it is. I'll get it working, get it styled in the appropriate place, and then can ask Brian, who's written more Svelte stuff than I have, how he'd like to do it. So we'll make this the check icon, and the box on it is 1510. How does he? Okay, 0, 0. Oh, he assumed it, they assume it's square. So box X, I think. 15, box Y, 10. I think that's what those correspond to, but we'll figure it out. Name. Why does it have to have a name? Yeah, not using it anyway. Clear that out. And then the SVG itself will be this. All right, there we go. We got our check icon. So now down in here, I should be able to say SVG. Not sure what this props.class is. Focusable width, height. Oh yeah, we are gonna have to make sure we set a width and a height. But we can do those all using good old howdy, Joyce and Rejoice. We can do those using good old Tailwind styles. So let's see, class equals, let's go ahead and grab all the stuff that's going to cause this to be sit in the right spot. Block absolute top right. I think that's what we need there. And then the actual, oh no, we are going to want to close it. Let's see. Oh, I think we have to set width and height. Well, maybe, let's see if it works as classes. And then we'll need the view box equals 0, 0. I think I can insert like this. Check icon dot box X. check icon box Y. And then lastly, we want, it does occur in the middle. Okay, so we'll close there, and then we'll do check icon dot, what was it, SVG content? Can't remember what I called it. It's up here. Surprised it's not auto-completing. SVG. Okay, cool. Check icon dot SVG. All right, that may get HTML wrapped or whatever. Username valid and username available. Let's just show it all the time to begin with, if true. Actually, if true, okay, not seeing anything yet. Let's make sure we got it in the right place. Background red, 9400. All right, cool, there it is. And maybe there needs to be a color for like a text color. I can't remember what determines the color of the SVG. That's not it. Yeah, there's these paths, but oh, there it is. The stroke. No. How an SVG works. Let's see, even, odd. These are the strokes, or the points that need to be filled. There's the fill color right there. Okay. Well, let's go look at the actual HTML that's being generated and see if it's like stripping all that stuff out. Yep. Okay, so it is treating those as text as opposed to SVG. Oh, I guess I'm gonna make this a span. See how it's got a yeah, okay. All right, so then what we can do is over here, I was making this thing too complicated. Delete the view box, make this a span, make this a span. Now it's wrapping the SVG. It's still not going to work because it's treating the SVG as text. And so we want to say, show this as HTML. Maybe, is there a svelte? Yeah, render HTML. There we go. Oh, okay. It is at HTML. Cool. See if that works. Bam! There we go. Not bad. It's a green check mark. Cool. There's probably a better way to do this in terms of like where we store the SVG. But we'll start with that. And then let's get it styled or get it centered appropriately. Feels like it's a little bit high. Push it down to 5 maybe. Yeah, looks good. Okay, and then we can put our if username available and username valid, then show this. Oh, and we also need the username, if there is actually a username in there. There's not a username length. If the username's length is not equal 0 and the username is available and the username is valid. Oh, weird. We also want to not show it in the case where it's checking. This is turning into a rather complicated thing. We might want to pull this out. And you're not checking the username. Cool. All right, so then Jess is available. It immediately hides. Oh man, that's cool. Looks good. All right, let's add the X now. It should be really quick. This will be if the username length is equal 0 and the username is and we're not checking the username, and either the username is not available. We need to do an or here. My De Morgan's laws. Yeah, I think that, and username valid. And either the username isn't valid, so then if username is, if either of these return false, I think we need an and here. If either of these return false, then the whole thing will return false, which will then switch this to true, which will then say if there's a username entered and we're not currently checking it, and this block is true, then we'll show it. Okay, now we want the X icon. That's kind of a terrible name, but oh, we can also get rid of this text slate thing I was experimenting with. That can go away, as well as that extra space there at the end. All right, now let's bring in the X icon, which I can just copy that. We also don't need all of this box X, box Y, all that blah, blah, blah. We could just say check icon is that. X icon is this. I'm going to go export of it. Oh, not a PNG, SVG. Export, save, oh, cancel. Well, how do I rename it? Why does it not letting me rename? Oh, because it's gonna create a whole folder? So weird. Okay. All right, whatever. I'm just gonna replace the existing one, and then over here, this should now be all the stuff I want. Shift J to join these lines, and then down here in our thing, we can just, we don't need this .svg because we're not accessing something inside of an object anymore. And we should go over here, skins. Nice. This, yeah, well done, Ryan. Like, I really like this design. It feels a little low to me. So we'll go to the top 4 again. I think that'll make the red be centered. All right, skins. It's like right between 4 and 5 that we want. Maybe I can add a little margin top. No, that's going to be too much. Yep, I want to add like 2 pixels. Ay. Pixel perfection. All right, I'm gonna leave it alone for now. We've got a couple things that are not exactly how they were in the layout with the like cutoff and stuff. Let's just call that done. So now over here in our bear, we've added the green check, we've added the red X. Both of those look good. And now greens and reds for success are the wrong color. Let's put that off till later. I'd love to, oh, looks like we're right at the end of our pomodoro. Okay, well, we got nice green and red check marks. Let's go ahead and commit that. Add green and red checks for, oh, status. All right, let's go ahead and start our break. We've now finished our third Pomodoro. I'm going to take a 5-minute break and we'll be back for our last Pomodoro of the day. See you guys in 5. Alrighty, welcome back to Coding with Jess. Pomodoro number 4 of our work session. So we've been working for about 90 minutes on the WebNative template application, and we're going to dive in for one more 25-minute work block. So let's go ahead and get started, see where we're at. Okay, so right before the break, we finished getting the check marks in there, and now we're going to try and make registration actually succeed and forward us on to the right place. So we'll come over here to our code. Up here at the top, we have a register user function that is currently calling register on the WebNative library, and then returning, if it is successful, then we're going to need to redirect to a new page, is kind of like the goal here. Right now it has not been successful, and the reason for that is we needed a change in the way that the WebNative library worked to allow for just a username and not a username and an email, which was the way it used to work. So in our package JSON, you'll see that we're using WebNative Alpha 2. We're going to bump that to Alpha 3, jump over to iTerm, do an npm install. All right, there we go. We got the new alpha, which was just pushed out this morning. I believe that will automatically get picked up by Svelte, and without having to restart the server. So now if I come in here and I say jmart, let's actually bring up our console as well so we can see any successful or unsuccessful registrations, because right now we're only getting a registration. Sorry, we're only getting a console log if things succeed, and then we'll make it do more than just the console log in just a second. So jmart1 is available. Let me click register and see what happens. Oh no, registration false. Doggone it. Alrighty, so what is happening here? We actually have, I just noticed that there needs to be some spacing between the back button and the register button, so we can handle that in a minute. But why is this failing? Golly day. Okay, so I was hoping we would just get immediate success as soon as we swap these things out. So if registration success, we're going to do, but registration is not succeeding. Let's go ahead and restart the server and just see if that's what's going on. We're going to need to get some additional debug messages. For some reason, we're not getting like any real debug messages here when we're doing what I think we want to do. jmart1 is available, so clearly it did not register jmart1, and it didn't like silently succeed improperly. So let's hit register now. Dadgummit. That's happening really fast. Like, makes me wonder if, so let's start kind of tracing this through the path here. Let's see, so register 1, we are on the register page. That doesn't matter. It's the fact that we're bringing this code in from WebNative here. Oh, there we go. So we had, I'm glad we went and traced this out. We had put in an email of null@null.com as a placeholder for when we needed to use email in the WebNative account register. We no longer need that, and so we should be able to call WebNative account register with just the username, and then find out whether that succeeds or not. All right, so now we've got that done. jmart1 is available. Register. Doggone it. Still a problem. Okay. Well, let's put some plumbing in here. Console log. Yeah, sure. Good suggestion. Copilot, thanks. Registration success. jmart1 is available. Registering false. All right, so this is going out, hitting WebNative account, calling register, and failing. We are not initializing. I wonder if you need to initialize first before you register. Maybe. All right, so let's just try this. This is a little crazy. And I know that this is not the way we're going to want to structure it long term, but let's call initialize here locally, which I think we'll call this copy of initialize. Looks like it's not happy with that. Let's see. Promises must be handled. Oh, right. So I'll need to do await, initialize, and then await. All right. So that's totally a hacky way of doing this, just in case you have to be initialized first. I'm not exactly sure why you'd need to be. Whoa, here we go. Oh, okay. Strange stuff. So it initialized successfully. And then we get this put statement. Okay, that makes me think that something else is actually happening here. Register is failing. In window fetch, create account. So this logged in is a good thing. Let's jump over here and I'll show you where that's happening. When we call initialize, we actually we call webnative.app, which sets up the webnative app, and then webnative app scenario. When you are successfully authed, it calls logged in. That seems weird. That seems to imply that I already have a. Maybe I can't register because I already have a registration active. Oh, let's go check it out. So, yes. Okay. So that's. I knew that this succeeded when I was pairing with Brian on it yesterday, and that is the problem. Okay. So let me make a note of what's going on here. So we did install WebNative Alpha 3. Awesome. Registration was unsuccessful, but for a good reason. We need an error not allow the user to register when they are already registered. We get an error. Okay, cool. Glad we checked that. That is definitely a case that we'll want to handle. So what we can do now is come in here in my IndexedDB for this particular page. I can come in and delete all of these databases. Delete database, delete database, delete database, delete database. Boop, 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 boop. And refresh the page, and I should have absolutely clean IndexedDB here, which looks pretty clean to me. If I go jmart1, let's go back over to the console so we can see everything happening. jmart1 is available. I'm going to click register. Registration successful. Awesome. So that initialize call correctly returned not logged in that time. You might remember that up here above the when we did this before, it returns logged in, and that's what kind of tipped me off the fact that like we were already logged in, we already have a username. So the initialize call really, I believe, is unnecessary. And I'm going to take out that console log as well. So now what we want to do is when this is successful, let's redirect to the device linking page. Okay, so now we come into routes here, add a new file. Call it link device.spelt. I believe that's the appropriate casing. Not exactly sure. We'll find out, I guess. And grab that stuff. Import link device from components link device. So I think all of this is going to happen in a single component. There's a lot of stuff that's about to happen here. Auth. I'll throw it in auth for now, but maybe it belongs somewhere else. I'm not sure. Svelte. Grab that there. Link device. Cool. So there's a super simple component inside our auth directory We're including it on this page right here that we're going to redirect to. And how do we redirect? Well, currently all of our routing is just based on URLs. And so what we'll do will be window dot location equals slash link device. I think that's how we do this. Let me make sure. All right, let's see. Spelt window location. How do we redirect to a URL? No, not redirecting client server side. Spelt client side redirect. So we are probably going to add in an actual router that we're going to use for all the things. This does not look good. So this might be the case where we actually need client-side routing or an actual router installed in order to solve this problem. Because what I'm trying to do here is a trick that you can use with JavaScript to send someone to another page. Right. Oops. Like that. I don't know why it won't let me do that. And I guess I could try it. String is not assignable to type string. Maybe I need to say string here. Only refers to a type, but it's being used as a value here. What was the error message again? Let's see. Window location. Type string is not assignable to string. Looks like it's potentially two things. Potentially a location. Expected 0 arguments. We got one. Okay, so there's something. Let me see. Window dot location TypeScript. I'm doing something wrong with the typing, I believe. I think this is still a solution that'll work. Is a type location while adder data href returns a string, and so you have to assign it to window location href. Ah, got it. Okay. Let's try that. Window location href link device. All right, it's telling me that's okay. So now we'll need to go back over to WebNative template and network, or not network, application. In our IndexedDB, we'll need to delete all these databases. So let's do that. Delete, delete, delete. We now have an unlogged in user again. Hit register here. JMart1 should no longer be available. It's not. JMart2 is available though. So hit register. No! What was the problem? Maybe I need to refresh the page. I don't know why. we did not, I took out that initialize call, but we didn't have that before. Jmart2 is available, so that did not cause a problem. There was an error registering. What? So maybe the initialize call was actually necessary after all. Oh wait, initialize. Let's find out. Refresh. Jmart2. Register. There we go. Cool. So that we've now successfully registered Jmart2. If you go over to my application in the key store, WebNative auth username is Jmart2. So we are logged in, and we were able to successfully redirect. So we've got registration is successful, redirect the welcome screen. Whoo! Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add these changes. Redirect to link device on successful registration. Push that change up. All right, let's see. GitHub, Vision Suite. Let's kind of recap where we are and kind of wind this up. We've got 8 minutes here left, and we've completed everything on our list, which feels good. Get registration working. Files changed. Right, so we've upgraded the version of WebNative Alpha, or yep, the version of the WebNative library. Okay, I guess the only other thing I would drop in here maybe would be a bunch of these things. It's kind of handy to have in here, and update the comment. And I think some of these don't exactly make sense. We'll take that out. Registration. Confusing error. All right. All right, updated that comment. PR is ready to go. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in for Coding with Jess and working on the WebNative app template with me. Super fun. Making a lot of progress on this particular thing. Hope to have it ready to be something that you can play around with to build your own WebNative apps in the next couple weeks. So you'll see an announcement on Twitter, and I'll be pairing on something again, same time next week. So hopefully you can come and hang out then. Thanks for joining. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.